Hello, my name is Uffe Gangelhoff. I'm the project coordinator of the EU Horizon project D4RUNOFF. And in this webinar, I will go through what the project is all about, what problems we are concerning, what technology we are applying, and what the outputs will be, and how we engage people around Europe in this project. So D4RUNOFF is short for Data-Driven Implementation of Hybrid Nature-Based Solutions for preventing and managing diffuse pollution from urban water runoff. So it's a good thing that we have an acronym called D4RUNOFF. It's part of the call in Horizon with Zero Urban Pollution, and it is a Research and Innovation Act. We will be working for 42 months and is now proceeding towards month 18. The budget is around 3 million euros. These are the project partners. VCS is the coordinator of the project, and besides VCS, we have 10 partners coming from water companies, small research institutes, larger research institutes, universities, and people who are consultants in communications and so on. The problems that the project is working within is urbanization and the effects of climate change on the urban runoff, and specifically the pollution in urban runoff. One of the reasons why we need to work more in this field is the massive investments that we have all over Europe in the coming years concerning climate change adaptation. In that regards, we also need to have more focus on the urban pollutants. We have known pollutants. We also have the knowledge of pollutants within our stormwater that we not yet has worked enough with. So we need to know more of the pollutants, the sources, the fate through the city, and what in the end is discharged to the water environment. One of the reasons also is we see still declining ecosystems and biodiversity, not only within the city, but also in the receiving waters. Also, the project works a lot on nature-based solutions because there's a very good explanation and research on how nature-based solutions have beneficial properties within the urban environment, but also cleaning capacity towards some of these pollutants. Initially and also finally, we need more knowledge on pollutants and more knowledge on decision making and tools to help us do the decision making. So the framework we have been working on is concerned with urban runoff and pollutants and sources. It could be industrial, residential, traffic, hospitals. It could also be building materials and many, many other sources. And the project will work with new detection methods so that we can detect more of these pollutants and follow them. We will develop sensors for some of these pollutants, and we will make risk assessments and GIS systems to support these two parts. Furthermore, everything, all the data and all the decision making and the risks will be performed in an AI-assisted urban runoff management platform where we have operations, risk mapping, policy making, but also social engagement, and also where the stakeholders can find information, add information, and do their decisions. Furthermore, we will have a lot of work on natural-based solutions of different kinds. Many different kinds of solutions will be introduced into the system. And in the end, this will give us a lot of knowledge on what water will come from a combined sewer network and in separate sewer networks to the receiving water bodies. So examples of the novel technology that we are working with in the project are these chemical detection methods based on non-target suspect screening, but also hands-on experience in the field. This is one of my colleagues taking water samples. These water samples are then introduced in these new methods with these new technologies, and then we will be able to detect what are the pollutants in these specific water samples. Development of sensors for some of these chemical components is also on the way, and this is an example of one of our prototypes that we are developing at the moment within the project. We will gather a lot of information on nature-based solutions. We will develop further on this, and we will put everything in a GIS and risk management perspective. And it will also be digitally. So this is an example of just one little example of the data that we are collecting and working with. And in the end, everything will be collected in this data-driven IE platform for stormwater management plans and decision making. And well, this is one of our prototypes now. Finally, we have 3 case studies where we will do measurements. We will have testing of the sensors and the IE platform and everything, and also validation in other case study areas. The case study areas is Odense in Denmark, where I'm situated right now. We have a lot of blue-green solutions and nature-based solutions in Odense that it makes a lot of sense to test these and to measure in these, as you can see on these pictures. We also have Pontedera in Italy, where a new blue-green solution is to be implemented, and it has to work with combined sewer overflows. So this is very interesting in the system as well. And for Santander in Spain, they have a large artificial wetland and other blue-green solutions that are very interesting to see the effects of. And how do we involve citizens and other stakeholders in this project? Well, of course, we have our homepage and we have our social media, where we constantly will bring results and reports and so on created within the project. But we also have co-creation workshops in the case studies where we involve the different stakeholders. We have had some of those, we will have more in the future. And we will also have more involvement of citizens and stakeholders in the case studies when we will do the testing and validation of all the research. In the end, one of the key things is that the D4RUNOFF IE platform is aimed for all stakeholders, citizens as well as water professionals and decision makers. And here you can also find where we are on the social media and also the link to our website. So thank you very much from the team of D4RUNOFF. You can see some of the faces here. These are the people involved in the project, and up until now, month 18, we are doing very well. So we hope that we can provide some very good results that all people and all cities in Europe can use in their daily work. Thank you very much.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon. I am Rick de Vrees. I'm coordinator of the Clearinghouse project, and I'm working as leader of the urban forestry team with the European Forest Institute in Bonn, Germany. So I will shortly introduce the Clearinghouse project, which is focusing on the role of urban forests and urban trees in for creating better cities. So why do we focus on urban forests and urban trees? We all know that cities are vulnerable to environmental change, and urban forests and urban trees are one of the tools that can contribute to meeting the global challenges that we have. Also important, an important way for, or an important reason for focusing on urban forests and urban trees is that we are still, as a global population, we are still urbanizing. It's important to keep in mind that the major urban centers of the world by 2050 still have to be built. So when building the new urban settlements, it's important to include greenery like trees and forests. So how do forests and trees can act as a nature-based solution? Historically, urban forests and urban trees have been around in the cities. The Romans already had trees in the forests, for instance. But trees and cities were mainly included for aesthetical reasons or for recreation. Nowadays, we see much more a focus on using trees for other ecosystem services that they provide. Like you can see in the picture here, reducing air pollution, reducing the impact of heat waves, but also creating values, creating market values, for instance, or increasing revenues in shopping streets. So there is a need and change in policy and practice to facilitate the role of urban forests and urban trees as nature-based solutions. This was the starting point of the Clearinghouse project, a project that has been running for 4.5 years and was a collaboration between China and Europe with 26 partners in 11 countries, where we wanted to look into how urban forests and urban trees are used and how this still can be strengthened throughout Europe and China. We had 5 case studies in China and 5 case studies in Europe, where we have been looking how these case study regions have been working with urban forests and trees at the moment and how they can be working with urban forests and trees in the future. Further, we also have been looking at other cases throughout Europe and China, and people who are interested to learn more about these 22 cases can have a look at the case study descriptions that are included in the Network Nature web stack, where you can find our clearinghouse cases described. Another interesting point that we have been looking at is how people perceive urban forests and urban trees. In the end, normal people or usual people are important to influence the politics of the city. And we know, for instance, from working with city departments that are managing urban forests and urban trees, that there are a lot of complaints. People are complaining about the leaves, about some garbage in the forest. They're complaining about birds that provide drippings on the cars that are parked under trees, and so on. So, but in a more systematic way, we have been looking into, or we've been working with about 12,000 people in China and 12,000 people in Europe and 6,000 in China. And really, I've been asking them in a systematic way, how do they perceive urban forests and urban trees? And what we see is that most people really like urban forests and urban trees and the benefits that they create to the society. We have also seen that there's not so much difference between Europe and China when it comes to the perceptions related to urban forests and urban trees. We have also been looking into these, what is called ecosystem disservices, which form the reason for people complaining about forests and trees in and around cities and towns. And also there we noticed that the number of people really focusing on the ecosystem disservices and the disbenefits provided by urban forests and urban trees is rather low. Only 10% of the population, or even less than 10% of the population, sees urban forests and urban trees as creating lots of problems and problematic issues. One of the means to change people's perceptions, but also to have an impact on the policy and practice on the long term, is by working with citizens, with school children, and by creating an education package with a nice title, City of Trees. We have been working with school children to increase their knowledge and awareness about urban forests and urban trees. This package is now available in 8 languages and more are still to come. And what is very specific on our education package is that we have been working with trees and with nature to learn about nature, but also to learn about other things. One of the activities, for instance, is how you can use a forest or how you can use trees to teach about language, or how you can use trees to teach about mathematics. So this package is not only learning about trees, but it's also learning with trees. So I would say check it out if you're interested in environmental education and to include nature in the way you are teaching. For practitioners, we have a set of 4 guidelines that we are now finalizing. One is about urban ecosystem restoration, how to do it in a cost-effective way. Another one is about stakeholder engagement, how to engage the public, how to engage stakeholders, how to engage other experts in a city administration, for instance, to work with forest and trees. A third guideline is focusing on management guidelines, and a fourth one is focusing on how to change the perspective of urban forests and urban trees and the way cities and authorities are working with cities, with trees. And this is really the aim of this guideline, is really to go beyond the usual suspects, so the green departments, the forest departments, and so on. And so finally, as a citizen, what can you do for increasing the impact of urban forests and urban trees in your city or your town? First of all, I think it's important that we keep that we raise the awareness about urban forests and urban trees. So we have to keep on telling the story about the benefits that that urban forests and trees provide. They're not only good for increasing biodiversity or capturing carbon, but they're also good for mitigating the impact of the urban heat island. So when you have more trees in your city, the impact of a heat wave will be less. Also, a city that has more trees is a city where the citizens are more healthy and are more happier. So there's a lot of tree planting going on in cities and towns, and that's good. But more important is that we protect all the trees we have in the cities. These are usually more old trees, and they are bigger. So the older and the bigger a tree is, the more benefits it has. So it's important to be an activist and to try to protect all the trees that are around already in cities and towns. And finally, with the increasing drought and the impact of climate change, some forests and trees are really suffering. And you can help by a very easy thing, and that is watering the tree, which is in front of your house or just around the corner when it's a dry season. And you can see a very nice example of one of our case studies. The city of Gelsenkirchen in Germany, where they have even developed an app to support citizens to water the trees around their homes and workplaces. So this was a very short introduction on what the Clearinghouse has been doing and how it can help people on the field, managers, policymakers, and citizens to increase the impact of urban forests and urban trees in your city or your town. So you can read more here, and thank you for the invitation.
So hello everybody, my name is Ananya Tiwari and I am a PhD researcher at Atlantic Technological University in Ireland. I am also part of the EU SCORE project. So this is a 10 million euro project funded by the European Union. And our goal is to basically build climate resilience, especially coastal resilience against natural hazards like floods, storms, coastal erosion, as well as sea level rise, and also other natural hazards like heat waves and other things, but mainly focusing on coastal issues. As we know, around European coastal cities, we've been experiencing sea level rise, we've been experiencing more natural hazards, more flood events, more storm events. So this was kind of the motivation behind this project, because as we know, climate change is happening. And even though we have ambitious goals and targets like the Paris Agreement, it is still happening, emissions are still rising. And so the goal behind this project is to focus on adapting and building resilience to these natural hazards, which are kind of inevitable. They are happening and they will increase more and more in frequency and in intensity, as has been indicated by a lot of research. So that's sort of the overall objective behind the project. Some of the solutions that we've been using include nature-based solutions, which basically means to use natural ecosystems to achieve sustainable development goals, which could include like food security, water security, of course, disaster risk reduction, and numerous different goals. But in our case, our main goal is, of course, disaster risk reduction, but it can also have co-benefits for like social, environmental, economic issues as well. So that's one of the main sort of solutions we're using, nature-based solutions. But in addition to that, we're also using a lot of smart technology. So we have a lot of like really technical scientists and engineers in our projects, people that are climate modelers, people that are very experienced with like GIS and other really technical sort of issues. So basically, we have been installing a lot of sensors in 10 different case study cities around Europe. And essentially, these sensors help us monitor climate data better. So in a lot of these regions, maybe there is not enough climate data available for like policymakers to actually make effective policies. So that's one of the key goals of the project as well, that we're installing sensors, we're using satellite data, we are also using like aerial drone surveys, we're using a lot of fancy technology and trying to monitor better. And one of the other things we're doing is through all of this data, we're compiling it to make digital twin 3D models of these 10 cities or 10 regions that we're working in. So essentially what we're trying to do is we would monitor in real time the hazards, the floods, whatever is expected or going to happen. And then we're also monitoring in this 3D sort of system how nature-based solutions can address these issues. So it's quite a new innovative technology. So we're doing that as part of the project. We're trying to work on early warning systems as well. So there's a lot of that technical side of things, but we're also working on like the financial and socioeconomic side of things. We're working a lot with insurance companies, with local stakeholders, local communities, trying to assess like the socioeconomic and climate vulnerability in each of these regions. So there's a lot going on in the project. We have nearly, I think, 150 to 200 staff members and 28 organizations spread around Europe. And the 10 case study areas are based in 7 different European countries. So we have 2 in Ireland, Sligo, where I live, and Dublin. We have 3 in Spain, in the Basque region in the north, Alicante, and also Villanova, which is just next to Barcelona. We have Massa in Italy, it's in Tuscany. We have Piran in Slovenia. We have Gdansk in Poland. We have one in Turkey on the Black Sea coast, it's called Samsun. And finally, we have Lisbon in Portugal. So these are like the 10 sort of regions. And in each of these cities or regions, we have established something called a living lab. So a living lab essentially is sort of a platform. It's like a real life testing platform that we've built or created in each of these cities, where essentially we engage with stakeholders from the industry, the academia, private sector, public sector, as well as like the civil society or the communities. So from different sections of society, and the Living Lab platform offers like different roles to each of these stakeholders, and it creates a platform for them to like engage with each other and have more effective conversations, more effective dialogues with each other. So for instance, we do regular annual Living Lab workshops with each of these stakeholders to sort of deliberate upon the best climate strategies in the region. There's a lot of brainstorming, a lot of talking, a lot of really interesting results that we then may share with the local municipality, because in each of the living labs, the local municipality is one of the partners. So the local municipality is like a key partner, and then there would be an academic institution or university that would be another key partner. So they sort of come together and collaborate, which I think is quite important for climate action. Unless all the sort of important relevant actors are speaking to each other, it can be difficult for the most effective action to happen. And the Living Lab methodology provides like a platform for all these different stakeholders to come together, address maybe their differences, their conflicts, find and co-create a common solution. So in the context of nature-based solutions, we've found the Living Lab methodology to be quite effective, because we've done different workshops to basically engage with stakeholders about the nature-based solutions. So in 2023, we organized 10 workshops in all of our living labs. I had the chance to travel to 4 of them as well. And we basically conducted something called the multi-criteria analysis, which is like a one-day exercise. It's quite a comprehensive exercise, iterative tool, where we managed to get all of these stakeholders in each of the city, representing these different sort of factions of society. And each of them voted and ranked and deliberated upon different nature-based solutions in each of the regions. So we tried to select maybe 6 to 7 nature-based solutions in each city or region. And then we had all these stakeholders sort of vote and deliberate, and like quantitatively and qualitatively, we collected data on their perceptions, their local knowledge, their willingness to maybe implement one NBS more than the other, and also their opinions about maybe the co-benefits from some nature-based solutions, like social, economic, and other co-benefits. We also gave them the opportunity to like vote and rank on which co-benefits are more important to them. So in some regions, maybe recreational opportunity was bigger. In some regions, maybe flood risk reduction was bigger. So it was quite interesting because we had this data from 10 different cities, and we could compare and contrast. So that's one of the really important sort of exercises we've done in our project on nature-based solutions. The other one is called a cost-benefit analysis. So we're also trying to do it in a lot of our project cities, and we are basically looking at the costs and the benefits that come out of implementing nature-based solutions. So for instance, I'll use the case of Sligo, where I live, as the example. We are studying sand dune management, which is basically an NBS, and how sand dune management can address coastal erosion and flooding, which happens a lot on like the Atlantic coast of Ireland. It's very prone to erosion and storms and flooding. So we're trying to see how much like maintenance cost goes into basically maybe planting marram grass, maybe putting dunes, sand traps to manage these sort of sand dunes better. A lot of them are naturally occurring, so we don't have to build them from scratch, but we do need to maintain them better to address these coastal hazards. And the other component is doing like an economic valuation of the benefits or the co-benefits that come out of these NBS. So like from sand dune management, we're looking at their ability to capture carbon, their ability to help with recreational and tourism opportunities, of course, their coastal protection ability. So how much are they protecting maybe the houses? There's a few golf courses. We're studying 3 beach sites. So the regions behind the beach, how much are they able to protect them? So it's quite interesting. It's quite technical. We're also trying to do future projections until 2050 to see what would happen in the next 20, 30 years. Would the sand dune management still be an effective technique or not? And we're using a lot of historical data, satellite data. So that's one of the other things we're doing. So just to go on to the sort of final component of this video, I wanted to introduce all of you to MOOCs, which are these online courses that we've developed as part of the SCORE project. So as you can see, we have 2 different ones on nature-based solutions and ecosystem-based approaches. They are open to basically everyone, students, citizen scientists, climate enthusiasts. They're not too long, and they go in a lot of detail about some of the research findings, some of the work we're doing. Of course, we have other resources as well. So we have a newsletter here that you can sign up for. And I encourage all of you to sign up for this. It's not very frequent. We try to keep it concise, not very frequent, so people can actually follow it. And we have a lot of like communication material, which of course, if you want, you can also look at that. This website also just talks about the project. Everything that I just described is also available on the website. So the concept of the project, what is the Living Lab, what is EBA or NBS. It talks about our different coastal city living labs and the research that has been going on in each of them. So for example, in Sligo, these are some of the case study areas. These are some of the challenges and risks. These are the EBAs, which is basically a kind of NBS that we are using there. And this is some of the, so this actually here, the infographic shows the results of our multi-criteria analysis exercise in Sligo. So these are the 3 NBS or EBAs that our stakeholders selected for Sligo. So as you can see, afforestation, peatland restoration, and wetland restoration, they were ranked like the highest. Yeah, and we have loads of like events as well, so you can keep a tab on it if you're interested. We have like regular online webinars. We have in-person events in like all of our cities and living labs. We participate in conferences. So yeah, there's a lot going on basically. And please get in touch, and we would love it if you follow our work also on social media. We're on LinkedIn, Instagram, everything. So it's been a great opportunity to share about our project, and I hope it inspires and helps some of you find meaning. So thank you.